guys, welcome to our channel Mo and Ash Vibes. As we all know that in all the immigration processes, IELTS plays such an important role. So based on the previous requests and comments, we have come up with the detailed IELTS series which will take you through the basics and the tips and tricks that you can use in your IELTS and score higher bands. But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe to our channel, like the video and share the content. So now what is IELTS? IELTS is International English Language Testing System. This test evaluates your proficiency in English language. IELTS tests your ability in listening, reading, speaking and writing English. Now this test is important for anyone who is planning to work or move or migrate or study in a country where English is the native language. This test is recognized internationally, so it's a very important test. You can take this test through IDP or British Council. It's exactly the same, so it doesn't matter where you take it from. IELTS scoring is done in bands, with 9 being the highest band and 1 being the lowest band. So for a 9 band score, the skill level is considered as expert user, for 8 very good user, 7 good user, 6 competent user, 5 modest user, 4 limited user, 3 extremely limited, 2 intermittent and 1 means non-user. So obviously your aim should be to get as high a score as possible. Now this test is divided into 4 modules. One is listening, then is reading, then is writing, and the 4th module is speaking. So these are the 4 factors on which they test you, how your English is. Now IELTS test is basically of 2 types. There are 2 kinds of IELTS test. One is the general training, and then the other one is the academic training. So if you are an international student who wants to go to another country, you have to give the academic IELTS exam. However, the other people who are going, for example, if you have to apply for your own PR, then you apply for your general test, or if you have to apply for the citizenship, then you go give the general test. So what is the difference between the two? Now basically, in general and academic training, the listening part and the speaking part remains exactly the same. However, the reading and the writing differs in the general and academic test. Now, what is the difference? The difference is the difference in the topics. The topics that you get in general training is related to your day-to-day life, a very generalized topic that you get. However, if you see the academic test topics, those topics are more suitable for people or anyone who wants to enter any professional institution or who wants to get into some college or university. So those are the topics that are included in the academic test. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that we have come up with the detailed IELTS series for you guys. So in today's video, we are going to cover the listening module in detail. However, in the coming days, we will also cover the remaining modules, which is your writing, your speaking and your reading in detail. So let's get started with the listening module. Listening is divided into 4 sections, 4 parts. In each section, you will hear a different recording. Recording 1, recording 2, recording 3 and recording 4. So you have to keep one thing in mind, and that is the recording is played only once, so you have to listen very carefully and be very attentive. The next thing that you have to keep in mind is that they can use different accents for the recording. So it could be a British accent or an American accent. All these recordings are different, and it could be just a monologue, which means it could be a single person speech, or it could be a conversation between 2 or 3 people. So in recording 1, usually you get a conversation between 2 to 3 people. Recording 2 is usually a monologue, which means a speech by one person. Recording 3 is usually a conversation between 3-4 people, and then recording 4 is again a monologue on a different topic. So this is the usual pattern. So in listening, you get a total of 40 questions. You get 30 minutes to answer those questions, and you get 10 minutes extra to transfer your answers on the answer sheet. Now I'm just going to show you how that answer sheet looks like. So this is the kind of answer sheet you will be provided, on which you will have to transfer your answers. There are basically 6 types of questions that are asked. So the types of questions are, first, you can get a multiple choice question. Then you can get the sentence completion question. Then you can get the matching information question. Then you can get the short answer questions. Then you can get any labeling question that you have to label the things, or a map. And then you can get a form completion kind of question, or a flow chart. So these are the different kinds of questions that you will get, divided into the 4 sections. So now to explain you these question types, we are going to do one example, one sample paper, and then we will go through each and every type of question one by one. Now I'm going to play the recording for you. The recording that I will be playing, it's taken from IELTSpracticeonline.com. Please try to solve all the questions as we proceed with the video. This way you will be able to assess that how much you scored at the end of the video.
Hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to section 1. Section 1. You will hear a man telephoning to ask about a job in a hotel. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hello, West Bay Hotel. Can I help you?
Oh, good morning. I'm ringing about your advertisement in the Evening Gazette.
Is that the one for temporary staff?
That's right.
The advertisement is for temporary staff, so temporary has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hello, West Bay Hotel. Can I help you?
Oh, good morning. I'm ringing about your advertisement in the Evening Gazette.
Is that the one for temporary staff?
That's right.
Yes, I'm afraid the person who's dealing with that isn't in today, but I can give you the main details if you like.
Yes, please. Could you tell me what kind of staff you're looking for?
We're looking for waiters at the moment. There was one post for a cook, but that's already been taken.
Oh, right. What are the hours of work?
There are 2 different shifts. There is a day shift from 7 to 2 and a late shift from 4 till 11.
And can people choose which one they want to do?
Not normally, because everyone would choose the day shift, I suppose. You alternate from one week to another.
Okay, I'm just writing all this down. What about time off?
You get 1 day off, and I think you can negotiate which one you want. It's more or less up to you, but it has to be the same one every week.
Do you know what the rates of pay are?
Yes, I've got them here. You get £5.50 an hour, and that includes a break.
Do I have to go home to eat, or...?
You don't have to. You can get a meal in the hotel if you want to, and there's no charge for it, so you might as well.
Oh, good. Yes, so let's see. I get £231 a week.
You'd also get tips. Our guests tend to be quite generous.
So now, as you heard the recording, so in your recording they will tell you how many questions you are getting, how much time you will be getting, and then the recording will be played once. So all the basic information will be given. And as you heard, you have also been provided with the example so that you could understand what they are going to say. But if you have noticed that here they told you that a man is talking on the phone and inquiring about a job, it means it's a conversation between two people. So as I said before, also in the part 1 or section 1 of the listening module, usually you will hear conversation between 2 people or 3 people. So this is a conversation, so it's an example of that. The next thing over here is that they have told you in the instructions that use no more than 2 words and or a number. So this part is very important. This instruction part is really important, because if you don't follow this, you won't be getting marks for it. So if they have asked you to do 2 words or a number and or a number, then you have to follow this. If you are putting 3 words, that won't be right. Or if you are putting 2 numbers, that won't be right. So you have to make sure that you are following this instruction. So one, this is really important. Another thing that is really important is that when they are giving you the time to go through the questions, let's say over here they're saying go through the questions from question 1 to question 4. Make sure you read these questions, because if you're going to read it ahead of time where they're giving you the time, then you will at least know what they are talking about. So when the recording is being played, it will be easier for you to connect and find the answers. If you waste this time, or if you don't give yourself that time to read those questions, when the recording will be played, you will be really confused as to what they are talking about. So it is very important that you read the questions when they are giving you the time, so that you know what they are talking about. Now, as you were going through the recording, you must have gone through that the first thing that they talked about was the kind of question they are going to ask. So it was saying form completion, which means sentence completion. So this is the kind of question that we are covering right now. So what happens in the sentence completion or form completion is that you are given some of the information, and then you have to fill up the rest of the information with the correct answer. So as I told you before also, when the recording will be played to you, you have to make sure that you go through the questions properly, because if you are going to go through the questions, you will realize few things. For example, in the first question, they are talking about vacancies for. It means the person wants to know that which position is available. Now, if you would have not read the question properly, you would have gone confused between the waiters and the cook, because they were talking about both of these things. But the only difference between the two of these things was that this vacancy is not available and this vacancy is available, which means waiters is the correct answer. This is the reason why you have to read the questions before properly, so that you exactly know what they are talking about. So here the correct answer would be waiters. Now in the next question, he's asking for what he can choose from. So the person said that he cannot choose his shifts. because obviously everybody would be going for a day shift. So if you would have put here shift, that would have been the wrong answer, because shift is something that they cannot choose. So now the question is asking, what can you choose then? So the correct answer over here is that you can choose your day off. Now, another thing that I told you in the beginning was that you have to follow the instructions properly, which means that if they are saying that no more than 2 words, then you make sure no more than 2 words, but they are definitely allowing for 2 words. So a day off is the correct answer. It's okay to put 2 words here because they are okay with 2 words here. So waiters is the correct answer, day off is the correct answer. So next they are talking about is the pay, and then the pay per hour including a break, which means that there will be nothing, no money would be deducted for their break period. So next question over here is dash is provided in the hotel, and then they were having conversation what is provided. So a meal is provided. Now here they have used free meal. So if you write here meal, that would be right too, but if you write here free meal, that would also be considered as the right answer, because you are allowed to put 2 words as well. So both of either one of these, whichever you put, that would be considered as the correct answer. So basically the trick in these kind of question is that you read the information when you're given the time, read the information ahead of time, so that when you are listening to the recording, you can link all that information in your head, and then it will be easier for you to understand what they are asking. So you won't be confused. Like over here, you could have gone confused between the waiters and cooks, so but you won't be confused because now you know that they are asking for the vacancy, which is vacant, not any other position. Similarly here, other things like shifts, day shift, night shift or timings, nothing they're asking about. He's asking about something that you can choose from. So you can choose your day off. So reading the question properly ahead of time is the main trick here. So now I'm going to play the remaining recording for you, and let's try to solve this part.
Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Is there a uniform? What about clothes?
Yes, I forgot to mention that. You need to wear a white shirt, just a plain one, and dark trousers. You know, not green or anything like that. And we don't supply those.
That's okay, I've got trousers. I just have to buy a couple of shirts. What about anything else? Do I need a waistcoat or anything?
You have to wear a jacket, but the hotel lends you that.
I see. One last thing. I don't know what the starting date is.
Just a minute. I think it's sometime around the end of June. Yes, the 28th, in time for the summer.
That's great. I'm available from the 10th.
Oh, good. Well, if you can call again, you need to speak to the service manager. Her name's Jane Irwin. That's Urwin. And she'll probably arrange to meet you.
Okay. And when's the best time to ring?
Could you call tomorrow? She usually starts checking the rooms at midday, so before then if you can, so she'll have more time to chat. I'll just give you her number because she's got a direct line.
Thanks.
It's 832-009.
823-009.
No, 832.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll do that.
And by the way, she will ask you for a reference, so you might like to be thinking about that. You know, just someone who knows you and can vouch for you.
Yes, no problem. Well, thanks very much for your help.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Let's do the next questions from question number 5 to 10. I hope you were able to do these questions because they are similar to the previous question 1 to 4, which is the sentence completion or the form completion. So let's do this. So he's talking about the dress code for the job, which means he's asking if there is any dress requirement. So the lady is telling him about that they need a white shirt and dash, which is not supplied, and then the other one is the supplied. So what is not supplied? Dark trousers, not supplied, and then a jacket is supplied. So now you have to be careful that you don't mix up the two, that you put jacket over there or dark over here, because it doesn't make sense although, but still you have to be very careful that what is not supplied and what is supplied. So a dark trousers is not supplied and a jacket is supplied. The next thing they are talking about is the starting date. Now here the starting date they are talking about is 28th June. Now the guy says that I am available from 10th June, but that is not the correct answer, because this is the time when he is available. So the question asked over here is the starting date of the job. So it doesn't matter when he is available. They just want him to be available for the starting date for the job, which is the 28th June. So 10th June, if you would have put up here, that would have been a wrong answer. So the correct answer is 28th June. And then the lady asks him to call Jane, who's the service manager. So Jane's last name is Irwin. The good thing is you don't have to worry about it, the spelling and all, because they are going to spell it for you as they did in the recording. So she spelled it for you, U-R-W-I-N. You just have to be careful when they're spelling it to you to make sure that you're listening properly. Then they are talking about the time when can you call Jane. So there are a lot of questions happening, but you have to focus on the word here, this. So here it was starting date. So if they're talking about any other dates, you have to focus on the starting date. So that's 28th June. So now she's saying to call Jane. So you have to focus on Jane and her last name. And then they are talking about what time to call her before, and then they say midday. Now the last question is she'll require a dash, which is a reference. Now you have to understand it is not important that what is asked of you in the question is exactly the same wording. For example, in the recording that you've just heard, she was asking him to get a reference, but in a different language, but using a different language, that she could ask you for a reference. So now ask you and requiring means the same. So what I'm trying to tell you over here is that it is not necessary that they are using the same word and the language. They can ask you the same thing in a different language or in a different word. For example, here they were saying they would ask you for a reference and she would require a reference. So it means the same in a different language. So just be careful about these little things. Now we are going to move to section 2. As you heard in the recording that you will get half a minute to revise your answer from the section 1, and after that they will move you to the section 2 and play the recording for the next questions. So I'm going to play the recording for the section 2 for you now.
Section 2. You will hear a man being interviewed on local radio about a plan to improve a suburb called Red Hill. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 13. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 13.
Good morning and welcome again to your city today.
With me today is Graham Campbell, a councillor from the City Council. He'll be telling us about the plan to improve the fast-growing suburb of Red Hill. Good morning, Graham, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Carol.
Now, Graham, I understand that there has been a lot of community consultation for the new plan.
Yes, we've tried to address some of the concerns that local groups told us about. People we've heard from are mainly worried about traffic in the area, and in particular the increasing speed of cars near schools. They feel that it's only a matter of time before there's an accident as a lot of children walk to the school. So we're trying to do something about that. Another area of concern is the overhead power lines. These are very old, and a lot of people we spoke to asked if something could be done about them. Well, I'm happy to report that the power company have agreed to move the power lines underground at a cost of $800,000. I think that will really improve the look of the area, as well as being safer.
That's good to know. But will that mean an increase in rates for the local businesses in that area?
Well, the power company have agreed to bear the cost of this themselves after a lot of discussion with the council. This is wonderful news, as the council now has some extra funds for us to put into other things like tree planting and artwork.
Now in section 2, they have asked you to first focus on question 11 to 13. So when they're asking you to focus on 11 to 13 questions, make sure you're focusing on only those 3 questions, because sometimes what happens is if we see more questions below, our concentration gets divided, our focus gets divided. If they have asked you to read only 11 to 13 questions, make sure you're just focusing on those 3 questions. So now the next thing is they are saying choose the correct letter A, B or C, which means this is a multiple choice question. So what happens in the multiple choice question is that you are given with multiple options A, B, C, D. Sometimes there could be more options, and then you have to choose the correct one. Here they're saying choose from A, B, C. It means they have given you the 3 options and then you have to choose the correct one. So let's start with it. Now I'm going to go through each and every question one by one so that I can tell you how you can eliminate the wrong answers. So let's read the question. Community groups are mainly concerned about. Now, first of all, they haven't talked anything about the population. So this one is a clear no. Now, I do understand that you can get confused between the traffic jams and the pedestrian safety, because if you go back and listen to the recording again, then it definitely says about that there is a lot of traffic going on, and that's one of the concerns. But they haven't talked about anything about the jams, that there have been jams. So yes, there is definitely a lot of traffic, but nothing has been mentioned about jams. So that's one reason why this couldn't be the right answer. Another thing is that they have said that in particular, a lot of children walk to the school. So that's not safe for the children. So in particular, they are talking about pedestrian safety. So obviously out of the 2 of those, this would be the correct answer. The thing is, when you are choosing the correct answer from the multiple choice questions, you need to be able to eliminate the wrong answers. Like here, nothing has been mentioned about the population, so that's not the right answer. Yes, things have been mentioned about the traffic, but nothing about the jams, so not the right answer. And also they are talking about, in particular, about children's safety, because children walk to the school, so pedestrian safety would be the correct answer. Now let's talk about the next question. Question number 12 is, it has been decided that the overhead power lines will be, A option is extended, B is buried, C is repaired. Actually, this one is pretty simple because they haven't talked about any extension or repairing it. It's just they have talked about is that the power company has agreed to move it underground. Now, underground doesn't mean that it's extended. Underground also doesn't mean that it is repaired. Underground just means that it's going to be buried. So, of course, buried is the correct answer. Now let's look at the next question. The expenses related to the power lines will be paid for by A, the council, B, the power company, C, the local businesses. Now this answer is also very straightforward, because just in the beginning of the conversation they just said that the power company will bear all the costs. So this is clearly the right answer. They haven't said anything about the council paying it or the local businesses paying it. So here we have a clear answer that the power company will be bearing all the cost.
Before you hear the rest of the interview, you have some time to look at questions 14 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 14 to 20.
Now, we've also put together a map which we've sent out to all the residents in the area. And on the map we've marked the proposed changes. Firstly, we'll plant mature pine trees to provide shelter and shade just to the right of the supermarket in Days Road. In order to address the traffic problems, the pavements on the corner of Carberry and Thomas Street will be widened. This will help to reduce the speed of vehicles entering Thomas Street. We think it's very important to separate the local residential streets from the main road, so the roadway at the entrance to Thomas Street from Days Road will be painted red. This should mark it more clearly and act as a signal for traffic to slow down. One way of making sure that the pedestrians are safe is to increase signage at the intersections. A Keep Clear sign will be erected at the junction of Evelyn Street and Hill Street to enable traffic to exit at all times. Something we're planning to do to help control the flow of traffic in the area is to install traffic lights halfway down Hill Street where it crosses Days Road. Now, we haven't only thought about the cars and traffic, of course. There's also something for the children. We're going to get school children in the area to research a local story, the life of a local sports hero, perhaps. And an artist will incorporate that story into paintings on the wall of a building on the other side of Hill Street from the supermarket. And finally, we've agreed to build a new children's playground, which will be at the other end of Hill Street, close to the intersection with Carberry Street.
Wonderful. Now, what's the next stage?
Well, the final plan...
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now we move on to our next question. In the next question, you can see a map. So they are talking about a map which has been sent to all the residents. So this is the structure of the map, as you can see on this board. So now what will happen is that when they are playing the recording, they will ask you to figure out what is this A, B, C, D and all those things are. So now when you are listening to the recording, you have to really follow their directions. So let's get started. Like in the 14th question, they are talking about the trees. They are talking about planting the trees. So where they are saying is that the trees should be planted to the right of the supermarket. So here is the supermarket and the right of the supermarket is here. So the correct answer would be C, that this is the place that they are planning to plant the trees at. In the 15th question, they are talking about the wider footpaths. So they were saying that the pavement across the Carberry Street and this Thomas Street would be widened, which is right here, to address the traffic problems. So the correct answer for this one would be D, because this is the place where they are planning to make the footpath a little wider. The next question, they are talking about the colored road surface. So in the recording they say the street that you are entering from Days Road, which is right here, to the Thomas Road, which is over here, is the one that is going to be painted red. So here the correct answer would be G. In the next question, they are talking about putting up a new sign, where they said that they will be putting up a new sign at the intersection of the Evelyn Street and the Hill Street. So that intersection comes out to be B. So here the B would be your correct answer. In the 18th question, they are talking about the traffic lights, to put up a new traffic light. So the new traffic light that they are going to put is halfway down the Hill Street, where it crosses the Days Road, which is this one. So here the F will be the correct answer, because as you can see, this whole street is the Hill Street and this is the half point. So one point is clear that it's halfway down the Hill Street, but at the same time this is the place this Hill Street is crossing the Days Road. So this intersection would be the correct answer, which is F. Next, they are talking about the artwork, that they want to put up a new artwork, where they are saying that they are going to do it on the other side of the Hill Street, across from the supermarket. So this is the place, other side of the Hill Street, and then this is the place because it is across the supermarket. So A would be the correct answer. This is another kind of question that could be asked to you, which is the map kind of question, where a figure will be given to you and then you will be asked some questions. You just have to follow the instructions when they are having that conversation. You just have to follow those instructions and you will be able to see the answers. The good thing is that it's not that difficult. Everything is in front of you. You just have to become good at it by practicing more of these kind of questions. Like for example, if they are mentioning about something to the right of something, something to the left of something, or at intersections, so those are the words that you have to listen for and be careful with. And as long as you are doing that, you would be able to find all the answers. So this is another kind of question. Now with this, we end our section 2. Again, at the end of the section 2, you will be given half a minute to review your answers. So you do that, and now with that we will move on to section 3.
Section 3. You will hear two students called Dan and Jeannie discussing their studies at university. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Jeannie. How's it going?
Oh, hello, Dan. Pretty well, thanks. Have you managed to get the money for the course yet?
Yes, that's all sorted out now, thanks. It took long enough, though. It was practically a year ago that I applied to my local council for a grant, and it took them 6 months to turn me down.
That's really slow.
And I thought I was eligible for government funding, but it seems I was mistaken. So then I asked the boss of the company I used to work for if they would sponsor me, and much to my surprise, he said they'd make a contribution.
But what about college grants and scholarships? There must be some you could apply for.
Yes, there are, but they're all so small that I decided to leave them until I was desperate. And in fact, I didn't need to apply. My parents had been saying that as I already had a job, I ought to support myself through college. But in the end, they took pity on me, so now I've just about got enough.
That's good.
So now I can put a bit of effort into meeting people. Haven't had time so far. Any suggestions?
What about joining some college clubs?
Oh, right. You joined several, didn't you?
Yes, I'm in the drama club. It's our first performance next week, so we're rehearsing frantically, and I've got behind with my work, but it's worth it. I'm hoping to be in the spring production too.
I've never liked acting. Are you doing anything else?
I enjoyed singing when I was at school, so I joined a group when I came to college. I don't think the conductor stretches us enough, though, so I'll give up after the next concert. And I also joined the debating society. It's fun, but with all the rehearsing I'm doing, something has to go, and I'm afraid that's the one.
Do you do any sports?
Yes, I'm in one of the hockey teams. I'm not very good, but I'd really miss it if I stopped. I decided to try tennis when I came to college, and I'm finding it pretty tough going. I'm simply not fit enough.
Nor me. I think I'll give that a miss.
I'm hoping it'll help me to build up my stamina, but it'll probably be a long haul.
Good luck.
Thanks.
How are you finding the course?
I wish we had more seminars.
What? I'd have thought we had more than enough already. All those people saying clever things that I could never think of. It's quite interesting, but I wonder if I'm clever enough to be doing this course.
I find it helpful to listen to the other people. I like the way we're exploring the subject and working towards getting insight into it.
How do you get on with your tutor? I don't think I'm on the same wavelength as mine, so I feel I'm not getting anything out of the tutorials. It would be more productive to read a book instead.
Oh, mine's very demanding. She gives me lots of feedback and advice, so I've got much better at writing essays. And she's helping me plan my revision for the end-of-year exams.
Do tell me, I always struggle with revision.
So now let's look at the question 21 and 22. So basically in 21 and 22 we have to give an answer for this question, which is, in which two ways is Dan financing his course? Now in the recording you must have heard that they are talking about all of these 5 options, but some of them are the opposite information and some of them the incomplete information. For example, let's look at this first option. He is receiving money from the government. Yes, in the recording they did say something about that, but the government, he's not eligible for the government funding, so this cannot be the answer. Then his family is willing to help him, so he does talk about that. Initially they said he should be managing money on his own, but in the end they were ready to help him. So yes, this is one of the correct answers. So B would be one correct answer. Now look at the option C. The college is giving him a small grant. Yes, it is mentioned about the grant, but it says that the money is so small that he said that he is going to only ask for it if he is so desperate. So clearly this is also not the right answer. Then his local council is supporting him for a limited period. Just in the beginning of the recording he said that the local council took 6 months to get back to him and to turn him down. So yes, this is also the wrong answer. Now the last option is, a former employer is providing him with partial funding, which he did mention that his previous employer has agreed to support him. So again, this is the correct answer. So the next correct answer is E. Similarly, now let's look at the next two questions, 23-24. The question says, which 2 reasons Jeannie gave for deciding to leave some college clubs? So now let's look at the options. She is not sufficiently challenged. So before I get into the options, actually I would like to tell you that if you've heard the recording properly, you must have realized that she gave up 2 things. One thing was that she gave up her singing, and then the second thing was that she gave up debate. So now we have to focus on the 2 things, that why did she give up singing and then why did she give up debate. So first thing is, she gave up singing because she said that she feels that it is not challenging enough. So if there is an option over here that says that, that would be the correct option. So let's look at it. She is not sufficiently challenged. So that's the first option only. So this is the correct answer. Now we have to look for the second thing, which is why did she give up debate? Because she felt that she's doing so many things, so she has to give up something. So which means she doesn't have enough time. So that should be the correct answer. So she does not have enough time is the correct answer, which is the option C. So A and C would be the correct option. And the other one is not correct, because just when you're revising, don't waste your time when you're doing this at the moment, because you don't get enough time to revise your answers. In the end, maybe just take a little bit time to kind of go through it quickly. For example, the activity interferes with her study. She's okay with that. So that cannot be the correct answer. The activity is too demanding physically, but she feels that it's going to increase her stamina. So that cannot be the correct answer. And she does not think she's good at any activity. Well, she did not say anything about it, so that cannot be the correct answer. So clearly A and C is the correct answer. So now the thing is that very clearly when they are asking us a question, it should immediately click to us that what are they talking about. So clearly we got the A and C answer correct, so we will put A and C when the recording is being played and when we are answering the question. So we will put quickly A and C. When we get the time to revise, just to be double sure, just give a quick look to the other options to be double sure, but don't do that part while the recording is being played, because if you focus too much at that time, then you will miss it. So the key here is to eliminate the answers, but that part is done when you get time for revising. Don't do it that very moment when the recording is being played, because that's not enough time. So just try to focus on the correct answers at that time, and later on in the revising period, just browse through the other options to be double sure about your answers. So now let's look at the question number 25 and 26. So 25 question number says, what does Dan say about seminars on the course? Now let's look at the options. The first one is the other students does not give him a chance to speak. There is no information mentioned on that, so that could not be the correct answer. The second one says the seminars make him feel inferior to the other students. He does say that he sometimes feels is even clever enough to do the course, so he feels that he's not as smart as the other students. So yes, the seminars does make him feel inferior to the other students, so this could be the correct answer. So now let's look at the last option just to be double sure. The preparation for seminars take too much time. There's no information about that, so we cannot say that this is the correct answer. So clearly these two are not the right answer, and this is the correct answer. So that would be answer B. Next question says, what does Jeannie say about the tutorials on the course? Now let's look at the options here. A, they are inefficient ways of providing guidance. Well, that's not the correct answer, because she finds this very helpful. She likes listening to other people, so this is not the correct answer. Option says they are more challenging than she had expected. Well, she does say that it's very demanding, but then she did not say anything about that what she expected before, or it's more tough or easier than before. She has not done that kind of comparison, so that is also not the correct answer. They are helping her to develop her study skills. Well, yes, this is the correct answer, because she does say that she would help her prepare for the exams, how to prepare for the exams and do her revision, and then she has gone better with her writing essays. So she does say that she has improved than before, so they are helping her to develop her study skills. So that would be the correct answer in this case. Now I'm going to play the remaining recording, and then you have to go through the questions from 27 to 30.
Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Well, the first thing is to find out exactly what's required in the exams.
Would it help to get hold of some past papers?
Yes, they'll help to make it clear.
Right, I'll do that. Then what?
Then you can sort out your revision priorities based on what's most likely to come up. I put these on a card and read them through regularly.
Uh-huh.
But that isn't enough in itself. You also need a timetable to see how you can fit everything in the time available. Then keep it in front of you while you're studying.
I've done that before, but it hasn't helped me.
Maybe you need to do something different every day. So if you break down your revision into small tasks and allocate them to specific days, there's more incentive to tackle them. With big topics, you're more likely to put off starting.
Good idea.
And as I revise each topic, I write a single paragraph about it. Then later I can read it through quickly, and it helps fix things in my mind.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I also write answers to questions for the exam practice. It's hard to make myself do it, though.
Well, I'll try. Thanks a lot, Jeannie. That's a great help.
No problem.
See you around.
Bye.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
comes to the questions 27 to 30, again you have to read the instructions properly, where they say that choose no more than 2 words and or a number, which means you can choose 2 words or one number, or 2 words and a number. So make sure you are following the instructions properly. Again, now this kind of question is the flow chart, where all the information is flowing. The recording is being played, but the information is flowing, so you have to be very attentive. Now let's look at the question. Make sure you know the exam requirements. Find some past papers, work out your dash for revision and write them on a card. Now in the recording they were saying that you have to figure out, right? So it is not important that they will use the same word, work out. They might use a similar meaning word instead of using the exact word work out. For example, in this case they have said sort out instead of work out. So sort out your priorities for revision and write them on a card. So you have to be very attentive in the terms that, again, as I said, it's not necessary that they will say the exact same word. They might use a similar meaning word instead, and you have to fill in the blanks here. So sort out your priorities for revision and write them on a card. And then they say make a dash and keep it in view. So instead of make a dash, they are saying need a, which means similar, that make a timetable, or you would need a timetable and keep it in view. Similarly, they say divide revision into dash for each day, where they say break down revision, right? They're using break down your revision instead of using divide. It means the same. Break down revision into or divide revision into, it means the same. So they say break down revision into small tasks for each day. Similarly, in next they say write one dash about each topic. They say write single paragraph about each topic. So they've already mentioned one, so you can either write one paragraph for each topic, or you can still say write one single paragraph for each topic. So both would be correct, whether you write paragraph alone or you write single paragraph, both will be correct, because we are allowed to use 2 words. So this is the trick here, that when you are reading it, when you are doing a flow chart, when you're reading this, when you get time to read through and go through the questions, you go by the whole meaning, wholesome meaning of the paragraph, instead of going just work out your revision and focusing too much on the vocabulary here, focusing too much on these words here. You have to go the gist of the paragraph, the meaning of the paragraph. Because if you go through the meaning of the paragraph when you're listening to the recording, it will immediately click to you that work out your priority means same as sorting your priorities. Make a timetable means similar to a need a timetable. Similarly, break down into small tasks is same as divide revision into small tasks. And write one paragraph about each topic, write a single paragraph about each topic, it means the same. So make sure you're doing this correctly. Now we are going to move on to section 4. I'm going to play the recording for you. In this section, you will have to read all the questions from 31 to 40. So make sure you are going through each and every question properly, as I've told you before, and reading the instructions properly, so that when I'm playing the recording, it's easier for you.
Section 4. You will hear a lecturer giving a talk about Australian rock art to a group of archaeology students. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. I've been invited to talk about my research project into Australian Aboriginal rock paintings. The Australian Aborigines have recorded both real and symbolic images of their time on rock walls for many thousands of years. Throughout the long history of this tradition, new images have appeared and new painting styles have developed. And these characteristics can be used to categorize the different artistic styles. Among these are what we call the dynamic, yam, and modern styles of painting. One of the most significant characteristics of the different styles is the way that humans are depicted in the paintings. The more recent paintings show people in static poses, but the first human images to dominate rock art paintings over 8,000 years ago were full of movement. These paintings showed people hunting and cooking food, and so they were given the name dynamic to reflect this energy. It's quite amazing considering they were painted in such a simple stick-like form. In the yam period, there was a movement away from stick figures to a more naturalistic shape. However, they didn't go as far as the modern style, which is known as X-ray because it actually makes a feature of the internal skeleton as well as the organs of animals and humans. The yam style of painting got its name from the fact that it featured much curvier figures that actually resemble the vegetable called a yam, which is similar to a sweet potato. The modern paintings are interesting because they include paintings at the time of the first contact with European settlers. Aborigines managed to convey the idea of the settlers' clothing by simply painting the Europeans without any hands, indicating the habit of standing with their hands in their pockets. Size is another characteristic. The more recent images tend to be life-size or even larger, but the dynamic figures are painted in miniature. Aboriginal rock art also records the environmental changes that occurred over thousands of years. For example, we know from the dynamic paintings that over 8,000 years ago, Aborigines would have rarely eaten fish, and sea levels were much lower at this time. In fact, fish didn't start to appear in paintings until the yam period, along with shells and other marine images. The paintings of the yam tradition also suggest that during this time, the Aborigines moved away from animals as their main food source and began including vegetables in their diet, as these feature prominently. Freshwater creatures didn't appear in the paintings until the modern period from 4,000 years ago. Already taught us a lot. But one image that has always intrigued us is known as the rainbow serpent. The rainbow serpent, which is the focus of my most recent project, gets its name from its snake or serpent-like body, and it first appeared in the yam period 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. Many believe it is a curious mixture of kangaroo, snake, and crocodile. But we decided to study the rainbow serpent paintings to see if we could locate the animal that the very first painters based their image on. The yam period coincided with the end of the last ice age. This brought about tremendous change in the environment, with the sea levels rising and creeping steadily inland. This flooded many familiar land features and also caused a great deal of disruption to traditional patterns of life, hunting in particular. New shores were formed and totally different creatures would have washed up onto the shores. We studied 107 paintings of the rainbow serpent and found that the one creature that matches it most closely was the ribboned pipefish, which is a type of seahorse. This sea creature would have been a totally unfamiliar sight in the inland regions where the image is found, and it may have been the inspiration behind the early paintings. So, at the end of the Ice Age, there would have been enormous changes in animal and plant life. It's not surprising, then, that the Aborigines linked this abundance to the new creatures they witnessed. Even today, Aborigines see the rainbow serpent as a symbol of creation, which is understandable given the increase in vegetation and the new life forms that featured when the image first appeared.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Let's look at question number 31, figures revealing bones. Now this one would be modern because this is the time where they could also see the internal skeleton through X-ray. So the correct answer here would be C. Next, yam was a symbol of curvier figures. So that would be the rounded figure. So the correct answer here would be B. Then figures with parts missing. So in this one, again, they started drawing this kind of painting in the modern era. So that would be C. Question 34 says figures with the figures smaller than the life size. So dynamic paintings were the ones which featured miniature creatures. So that would be A, dynamic. Then in the yam paintings, they could see the sea creatures as well. So this is the time when the sea creatures were visible. So the correct answer here would be B. And then during the same time, they saw that people shifted from eating animals and they started including vegetables and plants in their diet, and they started eating vegetables and plants. So during the same time. Now which is that same time? Yam, the same. So the correct answer here would be B. So this is how you are going to solve the matching question. So the trick in this question was that when they are giving you the time to go through the questions, don't just go through this part 2, features, but you don't really have to memorize this because this is a lot of information. Instead, keep in mind these 3 points, that they are talking about 3 painting styles: A, dynamic; B, yam; C, modern. So just keep A, B, C option in your mind, and when they are going through the recording and telling about the features, and when they are telling you figures revealing bones, oh, that's X-ray. So yeah, modern. So rounded figures, curvy figures, oh, that should be yam. And then figures with part missing, oh, that's again modern. So if you memorize these 3 and you just focus on these options when they are going through the recording, this is in your head when you are going through the question. The focus should be quickly browsing all of it, but keeping these options in mind. But then when the recording is being played, don't focus on this part because you already know what is A, what is B, what is C. You already know in your head that A was dynamic, B was yam, C was modern. So now just focus on this and try to connect these features with the options in your head. Let's do the remaining questions from section 4, which is the short answer type, or you can call it fill in the blanks. So in this kind of question, again, the trick is that you have to focus on the whole meaning of the paragraph. Don't focus too much on the words itself. For example, if it says aim of the project to identify the, so it's not necessary that in the recording you would have heard the exact same line, but you would have definitely heard a similar line which means the same. So you have to focus on the meaning, not the exact same word. So that is first trick. The second trick I will tell you as we move along. So let's start this one. Aim of the project is to identify the. So what is the aim of the project? So you have to focus on, they are talking about aim, and then they are trying to identify something. So what could be the correct answer here? So we are focusing on the aim and we are trying to identify something that is used as the basics for the rainbow serpent. So in the recording, you must have heard that they are saying that we decided to study the paintings. To instead of identify, they use the word locate, the dash used as the basics, which was locate the animal, that was used as the basics. Don't have to focus too much on the word itself, but you definitely have to focus on the meaning, what they're asking. So they're asking for the aim of the project to locate the animal used as the basics for the rainbow serpent. Now in the next question they say yam period. In the yam period, environmental changes led to higher dash. So what happened with the environmental change and what did it increase? So you have to focus on environmental change, and then you have to focus on the word that it increased something. So the environmental changes here increased the sea levels. Similarly, traditional activities were affected especially. So they were talking something about the disruption of the traditional activities that disrupted the traditional patterns of life. So, and then they use the word especially. So you have to focus on traditional activities here, and then you have to focus on especially, that yes, traditional activities were affected, but which activities were affected specially. So you have to focus on this word here. So that would be hunting. Similarly, then they are talking about a lot of things, a lot of information. They are talking about the rainbow serpent image, which is similar to a seahorse. So sometimes what happens is the whole recording is pretty long, but the answer is in the end. So which is why it is important for you to know which word to focus on, so that it clicks quickly when you are going through the recording. So now they are talking about rainbow serpent image, but we don't need any information regarding that. Similar to a seahorse, we do not need any information regarding that. Then unusual, because it appeared in inland areas, again we don't need any information. What we need here is this one. So we have to focus on symbolizes in Aboriginal culture. So unusual, because it appeared in inland areas, symbolizes dash in Aboriginal culture, which means it is the symbol of creation in Aboriginal culture. So the correct word would be creation. So when you are asked these kind of questions, do not focus on the extra information like over here, here, or anywhere else. Focus on that particular line and the meaning of the line. Like in this case, aim of the project was to locate the animal. Similarly, environmental changes led to higher sea levels. Traditional activities were affected, especially hunting. Similarly, unusual, because it appeared to inland areas, because they are talking about rainbow serpent image, and it symbolizes creation in Aboriginal culture. With this, we come to the end of our today's video on IELTS listening. I really hope that you guys took notes under each section, and I really hope you guys got good scores while you were trying to solve the paper with me. Please let me know in the comment section how much did you score, and also if you have any questions or queries related to anything, please feel free to ask me in the comment section, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. For more IELTS related videos, please subscribe to our channel. Until next time, ta-da!